In late 1700s London, there lived a man who defied all conventional thinking of time. He was a rebel who created his own belief system to avoid being enslaved by another man's. He claimed to see the face of God staring at him through the window at the age of 4, and a tree full of angels in Peckham Rye at the age of 8. He claimed to have conversed with spirits throughout his life. His name was William Blake. Painter, poet, and self-proclaimed prophet. A working-class Londoner written off at the time as an eccentric, called a madman by most, but seen as a genius by those who knew him. It wasn't until decades after his death that he was discovered and appreciated. But what was it about his work that had made him a true man out of time? So much so that we still have not caught up with him.
He's a challenging man to describe as William Blake, because you can't say he's a poet because he's too good an artist to describe as a poet, and you can't say he's an artist because he's too good as a poet. He's more than that. He's basically a visionary. It's the only word that really fits him is a visionary. The thing with Blake is he didn't go to school. He was basically free, but at the same time he wasn't being taught to think in a particular way. He wasn't given the accepted view of the world. He was free to see it as he saw it.
Every morn and every night, some are born to sweet delight, some are born to sweet delight, some are born to endless night.
There's anger in Blake. You know, he's not cushy. He's not a safe, romantic sort of poet. He's furious. He's furious about injustice, and things like child chimney sweeps, or like teenage prostitutes, or just a general level of poverty, and because he knew that's not how we're supposed to be. It's the thing that Blake understands is that paradise is our birthright. We're supposed to be in paradise. The fact that we're not is infuriating. So he talks in a poem like London about walking through London and seeing the marks of woe on people's faces, and chalking it up to the mind-forged manacles. I think the mental constraints, mental prisons that we are all putting ourselves into.
I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls.
He had a patron called William Haley, who had moved to Felpham and wanted to employ Blake to do his library, do paintings around his library. And there was a cottage down there that he and Catherine, his wife, could stay in. It was just big enough to get a printing press in the front room. So it made sense on many levels for him to move there, but it was initially, at least, it was a liberation for him. It was to be down by the sea with that sort of fresh air and that light. It was so different to 18th century, early 19th century London, and the smog and the dirt and the crowds and everything like that. And initially his imagination just sort of expanded in the light. And it's there he started talking about this green and pleasant land, which is the Sussex coast and the South Downs and all that area, which is now the archetypal description of England. And it was there he started working on the epic poem Jerusalem and a poem called Milton, which in the preface includes the words to what we now know as the hymn Jerusalem, "Man did those feet in ancient times." His visions, he knew it was in his mind, but he didn't see any reason to think any less of it because of that. There's a lovely letter that he wrote when he was in Felpham, where he was out walking across Sussex. He meets this thistle, and gets into an argument with this thistle, and he knows it's a thistle, but it's also an old man in his mind. It's an old man that's haranguing about his life choices and things like this. They were as real to him as you sitting there is to me. And he had them throughout his entire life, from a child to old age. So it was a constant sort of link to his life.
Farewell, green fields and happy groves, where flocks have took delight, where lambs have nibbled silent moors, the feet of angels bright.
Different type of imaginative vision than just a dream. As much as a lot of people put a lot of, particularly that hypnagogic state as you're about to fall into sleep. For a lot of people, that's as close as they get to the imagination of someone like Blake, or possibly Swedenborg.
To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour.
And the way that he saw the world was so wrapped up in his imagination that he kind of had to specify that imagination is essentially a muscle. It comes in different strengths. It can be exercised, it can be increased, but just imagining an apple or a cow in your head now is a very simple version of the imagination. What he called fourfold vision was the imagination becomes so powerful, so overwhelming, that it basically overtakes the real world around you and becomes, the truth of your existence at that thing. Fourfold vision for William Blake was the pinnacle of the imagination. because there's no statues of Blake. There's no Blake up on a pedestal that you sort of look up to. What we do is we take his words and we carve them into stone, into the ground. So his words become London, essentially. And for me, that feels far more appropriate than putting him up on a statue. I don't think he's wanted to be up on a statue. The more you look into his system of understanding the world, this philosophy, the myth that he wrote, the more it fits together and makes sense and is valuable and is rewarding, and the more you think this guy was a genius. You know, this guy, could see things that we can't see. He was inspired. He was absolutely inspired. That also equates to madness in the day. It's that quote: "In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king." Right? It's nonsense, man. The land of the blind, the one-eyed man gets bricks thrown at him. That's Blake, I think.
Blake died happy, but in poverty, at his home on what is now called the Strand in 1827. He went out singing hymns with his wife at his side. Upon his death, an unknown lodger believed that she didn't see the death of a man, but rather a blessed angel. Despite being unknown throughout his life, his work has since been discovered and appreciated, to the point where his poem, "And Did Those Feet in Ancient Time," using the title Jerusalem, has been adopted by the English people as the unofficial national anthem of the country. His art and philosophy has remained so unique that nobody has ever come close to replicating him, and his ideas about the imagination remain revolutionary to this day.